Old Testament studies. A little change of pace going on there. We're on a lot of nice lot books this morning, so everything I had marked is at the house. I think we're on page 102. Like I said, all my notes and marks are gone. This is I think number 5 is where we stopped last week. Thank you for being here. First off, I know it was tempting to stay home in the warm. I appreciate you coming out. Number 5, Paul's 5-fold charge from verses 13 and 14 of 1 Corinthians 16. He's talking about his military terms. He gives additional charge. As far as we must watch. When you think of Matthew 24, what was the apostles, I think, told to do in the Garden of Gethsemane by Jesus? I think that's the reference there, Matthew 24. Jesus told them, I think, to go there and to watch. We're also told in, I think, one of the other references to watch and pray. What does watch mean?
I think he was talking to watch and be ready at any time.
Watch, be ready, be on guard. I think if you look from a military standpoint, keeping watch, watching over a shepherd, watching over the flock, something like that. It's also a biblical parallel.
I was just here wondering, watch ye, stand fast in faith. I mean, watch yourself. We do too much watching the other fellow. I know for sure. You expect one repentance to be all an invitation. Try and get something started.
I was looking at 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7 says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be therefore sober and watch under prayer. And above all things, have fervent charity or love among yourselves, for charity shall cover all your sins. Be sober, therefore be sober and watch under prayer. Watch before the return of Christ, watch before ourselves. I think it's what you just referred to. Watch ourselves. The other reference there in 1 Peter 5, verse 8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So, be sober again and be vigilant. 1 Peter references there.
You think those terms, instructions to be sober, means to be free of alcohol and properties?
Not necessarily.
No, it means to be spiritual minded. Thinking in terms correctly with the scriptures.
Yeah, it could be used both ways, but in this case, think several times we're warned, act like men, be strong, be steadfast, and be sober, be vigilant. Act like adults, don't act like a kid. It's time to grow up and be sober. Think on things of heavenly things, godly things, goodly things, not things of the world. Then the things of the world will obviously lead into the problem we have with alcohol. Staying away from it as much as possible. Whenever we go back to work, Tuesday or Thursday or whenever we go back to work, what's on everybody's mind right now? What's everybody thinking about after the I guess tomorrow night celebrations? The different things that rolling in the new year involves, the parties, watching the balls go up and light up, celebrating, I guess, the start of a new year is what comes to mind. What should we be thinking about? Should this week be any different to us as Christians? more soberly than the rest of the world. Look back at what we've done in the past year and then try to make improvements for next year. It's got a bookmark in time in our lives. Started out 2018. Doesn't sound right to say it. It's at hand. And take inventory of ourselves and look at what we can do for next year. The second part there, we're talking about stand fast in the faith. Galatians 5:1 and also Philippians 1:27 was through the references there. I'm pretty sure we read part of those last week. View objectives is the faith refers to the gospel, Galatians 1:23 and also 6:9. And for it, we must earnestly contend for Jude 3. Earnestly contend for the faith. We put all emphasis on the faith because that signifies the one and only faith we should have. I've had discussions, I think you have too, probably, if you talk about the Church of Christ with anyone else, they're going to say their faith, your faith. It's not up to us, it's not up to man to determine what is the faith. It's God's plan for salvation. And I think that's what we need to do. Try to get them to focus, and maybe get us to focus too, that God's will sets the faith, not our will. It's God's plan to save mankind. Don't ever give up on that. And one reason I kind of want to back up on this, this paragraph was the give and take. Look at the phrases there, maybe later on in the next paragraph or two. But how much room do we give other people when they say that, well, their faith doesn't require me to do these things, or what I've learned, what I've heard? How do you tell people or ask people what their difference is? What's some of the things that when you talk about the different faiths that mankind has, what's some of the first things they talk about being the Church of Christ? It's one of the first things that comes up whenever the difference between, say, the Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, and the Church of Christ. What's one of them?
It's the same exact thinking of mine about a church, the church, and any church. It's not any faith, or some faith, or my faith, or your faith. It's the faith. Right. Faith comes by hearing. What's the rest of it?
Hearing the Word of God.
And that's the faith the Bible describes. And it makes it just plain that just one as it does about just one church. Because both are the same.
Probably the greatest issue, though, is if you get into discussions, is who uses God. That's what they know.
That's one of the biggest differences, the worship. They'll ask, why don't we have a piano oftentimes? Why don't we, allow that? And, we're quick to follow up with, show me in the Bible where it was allowed, where it was organized, where it, where even the historical factor behind it. Many of the instruments of music today, you'll get into discussions, weren't even designed or built in the first century. So everything that's been built since then is okay to be used. Is that true or false? It's got to be false. The instruments, stringed instruments, there's reference in the Old Testament. Cymbals, the chimes and stuff that Nebuchadnezzar, some of the things that they had back then. There's always been something that they could have used for worship, but that's not recommended. It's not even it's not allowed, and it's disruptive if you think about adding to the worship of the Lord. There's a lot of differences, and like you said, it all goes back to what does the Word of God say? Show us book, chapter, and verse. And likewise, if we show you book, chapter, and verse, where the 5 acts of worship are, that's what we do, and that's what we're authorized. And that's as far as we go. Everything else is, if you think about it, additional. It's, like the warnings of Revelation, we can't add to or take away. If you do, we're going down. And that's what we need to focus on and what we need to take a stand with. That's kind of what this author wants us to look at. Indeed, there are some things of which we must firmly stand. There is no give and take. There is no negotiating like the 3 Hebrew children. We do not bow. We do not bend, and so we will not burn. Daniel 3:8-30. Think about that reading there about the three Hebrew children that didn't bow to the king, but they weren't burned, weren't singed, weren't even hurt in the physical fire that he had prepared. Religious pluralism will not work. You see, truth is an existing, knowable, and unchanging entity. John 8:31. Arnold, if you will flip to John 8, verse 32 for us. Of John 8, verse 32.
You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Verse 31 also, if you don't mind.
This is Jesus to those Jews which believed on him. If you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed.
The first verse there, verse 31, specifies what we're to continue in. Continue in the word, my word, from Jesus. Then ye are my disciples indeed. And then you should know the truth shall make you free. Does the world take a lot of comfort in the verse 32 about knowing the truth and being made free? I get a lot of that quoted back asking us, that gives us freedom. That sets us free to worship as we want. And that's not what he says. It says, know the word first, then you'll be disciples, and then you'll be free from sin. It doesn't set us free from, here in the United States, we are blessed. We can study openly, freely, without outside intervention. We're not, in fear right now of anyone rushing in here and locking our doors because we're teaching the truth. In the first century, that wasn't so. You could be put to death because you stood for the truth. Many things we take for granted. There, in the first century, it was a life or death proposition. Standing for the truth or not standing for the truth. An unchanging entity, John 32. It'll never change. Once delivered to the saints, and that's it. Several verses reply to that, just like the one church and the one faith that we should have working for. Thirdly, we must be brave, be courageous. This is kind of the thought that I was just going into. Stand against the devil, stand against the outside influence of the world, but stand. And then fourthly, be strong. Strong congregations, strong families, and strong individual Christians who will not melt in the face of whatever is wrong. Many times we talked about it, I think, in this lesson several times about being complacent with sin, not really attacking it, but just not addressing it, making it go away. And that's the wrong attitude. That's not the attitude we should have. We should actively and openly address these issues before they fester as well. Fifthly, whatever you do, be done in love. I don't know if I'll hit it today or not, but there's a question, I think, in the end of this chapter that kind of I never thought of. Maybe I made it up. But in this, if you think about 1 Corinthians, as we wrap up this study, there were a lot of problems and issues in the Corinthian church that Paul has addressed here. And one of the references here, it may be on the next page, for basically 15 chapters, what's Paul done to the Corinthian church? What's he done? He's pointed out everything they've done, everything they've had issues with. He had heard that there had been divisions. He heard this, he had seen this, he had seen that, he had record of this. People had told him this was going on there, and he believed it because they had no reason to lie about it. For 15 chapters, Paul broke them down, literally pointed out their issues. And then on chapter 16, he, if you will, flips a switch and says, but this I did in love, because I cared for you. I cared for your souls. Likewise, when we don't talk to people about their souls, we don't care enough to love them if we're not careful. Let's go ahead and read these verses, then we'll move on to the watch acronym in the gray box. Rob, if you will go to Matthew 22 and read verses 37 through 40. Ephesians 4:2. Sandra. Ephesians 15:16. Or excuse me, that's Ephesians 4:15-16. Ephesians 4:15-16. And Alicia, don't want to leave you out. I'll get you to get Ephesians 5:2. Be done out of love. Let everything be done in charity, or love as we know it. I think it's one thing that I know in the, I guess the 70s and 80s, but I was getting old enough to understand what the truth was and not applying myself to it. A lot of things, we knew different people that did more damage in converting people to Christianity than good by telling the truth. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think they were the people I'm talking about. I don't think they didn't love people. I just think they had a real hard time coming across with the truth without being super aggressive. Knocking on someone's door and saying, if you don't do these things, you're going to hell. If you don't do these things, you're going to die and go to hell. Well, that may be the truth, but that's not how you open a conversation. That's, we talk about the milk, the sincere milk of the Word, and moving into the meat and potatoes of the Word. That's deep doctrine. It's separation. We got to first get people to study their Bible. We've the old saying, nobody cares how much you know, do they know how much you care? That's very true. We roll into some stranger's house and start talking about eternity in hell. First off, chances are we won't be invited back. But, not water it down. You will get there. Their questions will get you there. And that's the difference between the Church of Christ and the denominations. The denominations take everything. If you think you don't have to be baptized, there's a congregation out there somewhere that'll take you as you are. If you believe you can be married to multiple people at the same time, there's a congregation somewhere that'll take you. That doesn't make the sin right. Even the homosexuals, there's congregations that'll take you. And many times they've got Church of Christ on the door outside, but they've left the truth. It's still a sin. It's just easy to point out the open sins that people do. We know what they are. We still love the person, but we hate the sin. We can't accept the sin. We can't accept the sinner when they repent. And that's the difference. Out of love, it's something that Christ being our example. Everything He did for us was out of love for us. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. What does Matthew say? Matthew 22:37 through 40.
Jesus said to him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
We love someone as much as we love ourselves. We have an interest in their soul. We have an interest in their well-being. We have an interest in everything about them. Does that make us nosy people? Some people may think it does, but no. It's not being nosy when you care about someone. If anything, in the days of being politically correct, we quit asking people how they're doing. I know at work, they don't announce when people have someone's family dies now. They don't announce what it was. Somebody doesn't show up for a week, and they come back, and then you find out that, somebody in their family died. But they're scared to death to say anything about it while they're gone because there's loss about interference and privacy in the community and the work community. Used to, you knew people's families, what was going on. If someone had issues, especially in the church, we're supposed to be there to help. We're supposed to be the shoulder they turn to. Many times we don't turn to our own brothers and sisters in Christ. We try to handle everything ourselves. But love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy soul, all thy strength. Probably misquoted that. But that's all of our heart. Doesn't leave any room for the world at all. And then love thy neighbor as thyself. Take interest in the other people as you would yourself. Someone taught us the truth. Take that, if you will, pay it forward, teaching someone else the truth. Ephesians 4:2, Sandra.
Lowliness to meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another in love.
Forbearing one another in love. Doesn't say judging. It says forbearing. 15:16. Again, adding these things, growing, being mature. And then also Ephesians 5:2. As Christ hath loved us. All these acts of Christ, all his teachings, all the truth that he laid out. His life, his death, his resurrection, his ascension. The word that we still have, the factual record of everything he did for us, is enough for us to know that he is our Savior, without a doubt. One thing I saw last night, I think on MSN or somewhere, some page popped up, and there is I didn't see it, I didn't watch it. Some professor of theology or something somewhere was talking about how the Bible is just a bunch of myths. The Bible itself is a bunch of kid stories. And just that title, what are they trying to do when someone says that the Bible's fake? What's the first thing they're trying to do? If someone says the Bible is fake,
Trying to destroy your faith?
Trying to destroy your faith. Trying to tear it down. If the Bible's not true, and I think that's one of the things I've talked to a couple people in my family. If any of it's true, we should probably pay attention to it. But if all of it's true, we should take it all to heart. Not picking and choosing what we like about it. But it's pretty clear. Many people talk about the day of judgment, the different beliefs that are happening that people think about. I jokingly said something the other day about then coming the 7-year reign or the 1,000-year reign. That's what people are talking about teaching. They don't think when Christ returns it's over. That's the final judgment. They're picking and choosing certain verses and talking about different judgments and that they won't be there. And who are we to decide what God's law and will is? We need to read it and study it as it is. And quit messing with it. We're trying to modify it. It's my read on that. But yeah, the first thing they want to do whenever they say that the Bible is just a bunch of myths, shake your faith, get you to think that, well, maybe it's not all true. But then go back and look at what we know about the Bible. Everything they find physically backs up what's said in the Word of God. Scientifically, also, we talked about that. Everything proves that the Bible is the true Word of God. When you take it for what it is. In the gray box on the middle page 102, it says watch, and he breaks down what I forget what the word, the meaning is for that. Each letter in the word watch, he breaks down a couple of different ideas to think about. The W, watch, our words, our worship, and our walk, our daily lives, how we worship the Lord, what we say, how we say it. Watch what we do. Also watch our aim, our actions, and our attitude. Attitude, especially in my case. Watch what we're thinking about, what we're focused on. Watch if we do truly care about the church, this congregation, individuals, the whole church worldwide. Watch our tongue, our talent, our time. Those three things. Again, what we're saying, how we're using our talents. We've got a lot of people that have a lot of real talent, but they're not using it in the church. They're using it for everything but the church. Also, our time. That hits me right between the eyes, and one of the things that I'm going to try to do better with next year. I'm not even going to look up at my wife, but she's probably laughing and pointing her finger right now. We've already had a discussion about that. Where do you spend your time? What's your focus on? What do we need to work on? Watch also our company, our character, and our children. What company do we keep? What's our character? And also, what's our children? Watch also our home, our habits, and our heart. What do we allow in our home? What do we allow in our heart? What do we spend our time on when we are on the internet? When we are doing searches, what are we looking for? How many hours do we spend doing things that in and of themselves aren't wrong, but when you spend that much time doing it, could do a lot of good for other people, also ourselves. Watch. Good study to think about. Toward the end of this chapter, we get into Timothy's the study over in the gray box also on page 103. It's the study of Timothy. We're talking about the preacher, Paul being as you preachers must have. Number 2 on page 103, I'll jump up there, and that's the section I think where I got the idea that Paul basically yes, that's it. Paragraph number 2 on page 103 says Paul's demonstration of the attitude preachers must have, verse 24. For 16 chapters, Paul had severely rebuked the Corinthians. Yet he closes the epistle by writing, "My love be with you all in Jesus Christ." The truth must always be spoken in love, Ephesians 5:4-15, from the reference we just read. Love must be the supreme and underlying motive behind everything preachers say and do. Why should that just be preachers? Should that be Christians? Everything Christians say and do? Each one of us. That should be our motive. That should be our, if you will, our marching orders. On everything we say and do. Do you love, the truth? Do you love these people? Even though sometimes they're strangers when they start out with. Show them that you care for them and their souls before you try to convert them, obviously. If someone can be the object of God's grace, then they can be the object of our love. And God's grace is available to all men. So that should be who we love. Again, separating the sinner and the sin. A lot of discussion still going on, I'm sure this upcoming year, about sinful acts that we need to be acceptable of. And that'll never happen in the true church. The old law has been abrogated. Probably said it wrong, but basically it's cut off. It's ended. The observance of Pentecost is part of the old law, one of the 3 Jewish feasts in Leviticus 23. But such held no more significance to Paul since the law that required such had been nailed to the cross. We talked about this in several of Paul's writings. And on the day of Pentecost, as their manner was, they went to the synagogue, or those feast days. That's where the religious people were gathered together. That's where the Jews who still believed in the old law, that's where they were still going to worship. Paul was going there to teach the truth and convert them, knowing that's where they would still be. Should we as a group sometimes go to denominational worship services? Would it be a good idea if we said on the third Sunday of next month we're going to South Haven as a group? It'd be good or bad?
It'd be very bad.
It'd be very bad. Because we'd be basically going and enjoying ourselves with it. Think about several of the verses we read today. I think, be coming out and be separate. I am your God, saith the Lord. Can't have the good and the bad mixing together. We need to stay away from it. It's always good. Like I said, many people in our families are members of denominations. It's good to talk to them, keep talking, keep working, keep asking them to come with us, but don't give in and go to their worship services. That would be very bad. The idea that Paul was going there was because he was going there to teach the truth. He was not going there to be a part of their worship. Talk about the study of Timothy there in the gray box. Timothy was a convert, Acts 16:1. Timothy is the son. Timothy also is a brother, believer in the truth, a preacher, co-worker. Many times he's referred to by Paul as someone that worked beside him, along with him. He was also a messenger, in that he carried the truth and also letters from Paul to the church of Thessalonica. He had also been a prisoner in Hebrews. He was faithful in 1 Corinthians 4. He was a confirmer of the truth, and also he concerned the concern in Philippians 2:20. He worried about the truth, about Paul, about some of the things that were going on, but he never quit. He never gave up. I think that's the emphasis of each one of those verses there. If you go through and look at it. The last two phrases or studies here says there's always opposition to the truth. Paul had such an emphasis, and what should be our reaction to such? Deny exists. Peacefully coexist with it, flee from it, or confront and refute such. Confront and refute such must be our approach. Like we just talked about, we can't deny that it exists, and there's not a peaceful coexistence with it. Anything that's opposition to the truth, we have to stand against. Eric, we'll go to Ephesians 5, verse 11 for us. And Bobby, if you don't mind, get Philippians 1:7. Then if you look at Jude 3, we've already used that reference a couple of times today, I think. But if you look at Jude 3, and Roy, if you will get, start us off in Acts 17, starting at verse 22, and if you and we'll get through 31. Acts 17, 22 through 31. So y'all get that. We started off with Paul's, 5 things to watch, to do. The charges we must need to keep as Christians. Watch, stand, and then obviously, thirdly, be brave, be strong, and then do it out of love. And I think these several of these verses here don't best confirm those same ideas. What does Ephesians 5:11 say?
And have no fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness, but rather even reprove them.
That's pretty clear. No fellowship. Abstain from, lock it away, don't mingle with it. Philippians 1:7.
Even as it is good for me to put this of you, all because I have you in my heart, into as much as both in my callings and in the defense of the proclamation of the gospel, ye all are protectors of my God.
So, standing in the truth, in the grace of God, always refuting anything that isn't of the truth. And then, are you still there? If you don't mind, verse 17 also.
But the other of love, knowing that I am set forth towards the gospel.
Set for the defense. I think that's another military term. Paul was kind of making a parallelism with. If you were set for an oncoming rush in a military battle, you basically, we've seen it talked about it a couple times.
Religious world still quote us and teach what we teach about certain things in order to make us look back to others. That's what we're doing with Paul. Hope him that, in a sense, try to make him look bad to people that listen.
Right. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. You can say the truth in the wrong way and do a lot of damage. I think that's what they were doing. Like you said, they were ridiculing Paul. Several times they talked about how that apparently they questioned his apostleship because.
In 1:16 implies they didn't preach it like it was, they twisted it to their own ends.
The wrestling with the truth.
Verse 16, preach Christ of attention. They were trying to start a fight. We ain't got nothing today.
Yeah, the reference for commentaries in first chapter 1 of Philippians. And many of the brethren in the Lord, waxing confident by my bonds, are much more bold to speak the word without fear. Some indeed preach Christ, even with envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. And the one preached Christ of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds, but the other in love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. So there was, two different cases there. One using it like we talked about against Paul, trying to point out that he was not sincere, but the other out of love.
Plain 18, then how you can plain 18.
The other one was teaching out of love, or
I was
accepting the
saying
defense of the
every
gospel.
way. I'm glad you preach Christ anyway. All preach Christ. I don't struggle with that because unless you preach Christ in truth, you're hurting his heart.
That's some of the things that
teach the truth and not have the right heart, not have the right attitude. Those people may not have been teaching the false doctrine. They were just preaching because they knew it was going to come down to false prophets. So the more they got it out there, the harder it made them follow. So it wasn't that false
I
doctrine.
think that people use us that way because we do teach the one church. And we do teach baptism. But they imply that in doing that, we're trying to condemn them and nothing else but that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime that you confront people who are living wrong, false doctrine, whatever, that's one thing that people do. When they can't beat you with the facts or the information, they turn and make it a thing where it's a matter of your spirit or your heart. That's the next thing that they go.
You think in our time, most preachers have one idea in mind. I'm not going to offend people I'm preaching to.
I think that's a generalization. You have to be careful.
I thought that's the way you preach it.
Didn't they say that?
Just want to have a little fun. Excuse me. I should. Sorry.
I was trying to think, was it Brent Stubblefield maybe? When he came? Like the opening sermon, he's like, I don't know anybody here. And I thought, well, that's a weird way to start a sermon. And he went into that because I want to teach the truth. And that's kind of what, if we're not careful, we might hinge our bets a little bit of what we're saying. But we need to be careful. Let's stand for the truth. Always right up front.
Michael Roy, from time to time, when he preached, he get up there and say when he preached that he didn't have any friends or family. When he got up there, that was it. So, I guess the attitude you have to take.
It's all the word made.
And that's the bell. I'll hand out the books quickly, and we'll pick up that next week. I appreciate your obviously the reading, your attendance today also. Thank you.